potential mitigation projects. We have Sam Carroll here.
You want to stand up and use that mic for that? You want to wait? You want to wait?
Sam, whatever you feel comfortable with. There's a
Okay, please.
speaker there and a speaker there.
Okay, I'll just use this microphone to please
Sure.
record. Alright, so I'll try to keep this short and sweet. This is for both the board and the residents. It's meant to be an opening of a conversation. Everyone knows we've had a lot of rain in the past few months, so this is just kind of trying to open a conversation, start talking about some potential things that the board and the township can start to move on to try to do things to improve flooding situation and address some of the problems. So as I said, this is generally the area of Union Township. You can see down the bottom is New Eagle, and up towards the top is the border with Allegheny County. Basically what this graphic shows is that parts of the township received up to 6 inches of rain from the Hurricane Ida storm event. And this came down in a, as you know, a very short period of time. With that severe amount of rain, we expect to see issues and problems. It's just a very large amount of rain in a very short period of time. Problems are going to happen. That doesn't mean there's not things that we can be doing and start to look into to try to make the situation better in the future. So this presentation is going to kind of start to highlight some of more of the FEMA defined floodplain areas throughout the township. There are 4 primary areas of the township that are defined as special flood hazard areas by FEMA. These areas are primarily along the Mon River between 837 in the river, at the very southern end of the township, at the bottom of Ginger Hill, under where the 43 overpass, along Peters Creek on either side of Finleyville, and then along State Route 88, a larger unnamed tributary of Peters Creek. So, thankfully along the Mon, really, there's no residential areas. It's tougher to see in this picture, it's a little easier in the next few when we get zoomed in more, but as I said, mostly it's the rail yard and power plant along the river are the 2 areas that are in the flood zone, and that's shown by this area in white along the river. And you'll continue to see that in the next pictures. We'll just kind of zoom into those 4 areas I just mentioned. The next one is, like I said, right at the bottom of Ginger Hill. There's a couple residences and several mobile homes in this area. Again, this is a FEMA defined, this is what used to be called the 100-year floodplain, for 100-year storms. Now it's more referred to the 1% storm. You can have 100-year storms back to back in recurring years. So it's really a matter of statistics. Probability-wise, it'll only happen on average once every 100 years, but we continue to see more intense, increasing intensity storms. It's something we expect to continue. So this is one area. These houses are in the FEMA-defined floodplain, and the reason I'm pointing that out is it's easier to get funding opportunities if any of these residences or anyone there would be interested in potential mitigation measures trying to reduce their flooding impacts. It's more likely to receive grants from FEMA just because they are in this special designated flood hazard area. The next big one, as I said, is on either side of Finleyville. I know it's tough to see in these photos. If anyone would like to see close-ups, all of this data is available online. This was specifically taken from the maps prepared this summer by Terry, but all the data in these layers are available online through FEMA, and I'd be glad to provide where to get that if anyone's interested. So like I said, this is on the western side of Finleyville. I believe it's Linden Street. There's a couple of houses on the back side of Linden Street that are in the floodplain. That'd be right here. Otherwise, most of the houses are outside of the floodplain. This other photo is on the opposite side of Finleyville. Right here we have Finleyville-Arama Road, Railroad Streets right through here. So this is that bottom area through there. There's several residences And then also up on Stone Church Road, up in this area, there's a few residences in the floodplain. This is the next major one. Again, I know it's a really large area to try to show, but this is another unnamed tributary to Peters Creek. So this starts up at the Trax Farms area and flows down along State Route 88. I know there's been a lot of issues recently. Several of these homes are built in a floodplain, homes and businesses. So we fix the areas, but given this designation, there's an increased likelihood of getting funding to try to do things if any of the residents are on board with that kind of project. And this is just a closer zoomed in view of further down along 88. Right in this area is the park. It's off of Jason and Jack Street, and then again this just continues down along 88. So this entire neighborhood through here was all kind of built in and around a defined floodplain. This is just a zoom in here. You can see the park. The reason I'm highlighting and talking about the park, as we'll talk about some potential programs moving forward in later slides, maintaining open spaces and green spaces is really one of the best ways to do this. We know certain areas are at risk. Any areas that aren't already developed on that are open, we should use the available means and methods to limit and or discourage future development and fill in floodplains, because water's fluid. Water takes the form of whatever you put it in. So if you're displacing it from one place, if you're pushing it somewhere else, you're making the problem worse somewhere else. So some of the potential mitigation strategies, there's a huge list that FEMA puts out. I've got a list, comprehensive list, and some other resources I'm going to be providing to the board. I can also provide to any residents if they're interested in any of this material. Mainly things, the first situation is limiting, making it any worse. Enforcing the ordinances, the township, is very good at reviewing the stormwater and grading ordinances, and ensuring that all development meets those standards. Limiting new construction in the floodplain that goes right along with the subdivision and ordinances. And then, like I mentioned, preserving open space. Green is good. Green is a filter. Green slows down rainwater, allows water to infiltrate into the ground. Hard surfaces, impervious surfaces, pavement, that just speeds up the rate that water comes off the land and makes it into the streams, and then ends up flooding somewhere along the way. Some of the next steps, rather than just preventing it from getting worse, actually starting to look at improving the situation. There's a program out there through the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program, through the federal government, called the Community Rating System. It's basically, it's similar to lead development, green development. There's a list of different things that the township can participate in. If you accomplish some of these different measures, then you can start to get credit. The more credit you get, the higher level you get, and you can get reduced flood insurance rates. That may not be the greatest attraction if you have a very limited number of homes or businesses in the floodplain, but doing the items that you do to get the credit for the community rating system are great measures to be doing and working on anyway. So you'll see benefits even if the ultimate end goal isn't just reduce flood insurance rates. You'll see reduced flooding by accomplishing some of these tasks on the list. Another option through FEMA, residents want to stay where they are. There's flood-proofing measures to better flood-proof homes where they're at, either raising them up, getting some kind of temporary barricades, different options, and ultimately, if there's residents out there that are like, I'm just done with this, I've been flooded out, I'm continually flooded out, I just don't want to live here anymore. FEMA does have, it's a long-term process, but there is funding available to purchase homes with federal funding, and then ultimately they end up being demolished, and that space gets maintained as open space and with covenants put on it so that people don't build on it in the future. So that's the extreme end. Again, I'm going to continue to hit on open space. You know, any areas of the township that aren't developed, you know, to me, when I look at this picture, I see these steep eroding banks. You know, there's a lot of issues there, but all of this extra height of bank here, if we were to come in here and remove some of this material, that's all creating storage volume. If we grade these banks back, you know, you're giving an area here between the buildings and the parking lot where the stream can come up and flood. It's going to continue to rain. The goal is to try to store water wherever possible, slow it down. 'Cause the more you speed things up, you're just pushing the problem further downstream. So as I mentioned, the community rating system, here's kind of their table of the different tiers and different discount rates that are available for flood insurance. If multiple communities across the state participate, you start at a level 10 and work your way up. There are very few level 1 communities, but it is possible to obtain up to a 45% discount on flood insurance for businesses and residents that are within that designated floodplain that we went through earlier. So by the different types of things that are in the community rating system, providing information to residents, maintaining flood records, addressing flooding problems via actual projects, the township can get credit for the CRS if that's the program that they're interested in pursuing. And an added benefit, many of the CRS activities can double count as credit for the MS4 program that the township already participates in. So they both have education and outreach components. This presentation right now tonight is going to count as 2 things for the MS4 program, an education and outreach component for the residents, and also kind of an informational session and training with the board as well and public staff. So we try to do everything we can as a company to make sure that we get as much credit and, for the township as possible for these programs that they're required to comply with. So some of the example projects, like I mentioned previously, there's what they have is 4 different series: Series 300, 400, 500, and 600. Series 300 items, I just have a couple listed here, are providing public information, so providing flood insurance rate maps when they're asked for, doing outreach events such as this and others, workshops. 400 series of items pertain to mapping and regulations, so this is some of your existing stormwater ordinances and different things, preserving open space, regulating stormwater for new developments. Series 500 is more geared towards flood damage reduction. These are more on the ground projects and also just kind of creating and adopting a comprehensive mitigation plan. Series 600 flood preparedness. I don't think these are anything that we would really get into. These are more major warning systems, levees, dams, dikes. These are more major projects for communities that are along larger rivers and things like that. Here's just a quick infographic from the Water Resource Center at the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission about how to apply. I pulled several things from their website. There's a woman there, Erin Keppel-Adams. She's great. She hosts training seminars all the time about the community rating system and different projects. So I highly recommend their website if you're interested in more information in addition to what I provide. But it's a pretty 4-part process. You kind of get involved with the state level. You start to have some consultations, see if the community is eligible. The township already is participating in the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program. They've been participants since the 70s in its early stages. So that's already the first checkbox off right there. Because of that, you're eligible to pursue participating in the CRS. And then you just kind of work with the different agencies and start to go through and check off the boxes and pursue via those methods. That's it. Like I said, wanted to keep it short. This is the beginning of the conversation. I'm happy to answer any questions